let's simplify this, or multiply it. Now, when you're multiplying here, you can actually put a 1 underneath here. Anything can put a 1 underneath. So that is a fraction. So what we're going to do is going to multiply straight across the tops and the bottoms. But before we do that, we need to factor everything. So factor this top right here. If you factor this top, it looks like that'd be a 16 and a negative 8. Which looks like negative 4 and negative 4. So it looks like x minus 4, x minus 4. The bottom, I could pull a GCF of 3 out. 3 goes into both of these. 3 times x gives you 3x. 3 times negative 4 gives you negative 12. Times, right here, I could pull a 3 out. That leaves me x. 3 times x is 3x. And that looks like it's going to give me a negative 4. That's over 1. Alright, does anything cancel? Actually, yeah, these two cancel. Don't the 3's also cancel? Anything else? Nope. Okay. Oh, well, all we're left with is an x minus 4 over 1. Well, we don't need the 1 on the bottom, and an easier way to put x minus 4, well, this is probably just x minus 4 squared. That's the best way to write that, because we have 2 of them, so we square it. By the way, right off the bat, because these are just canceled, boom. We could have just canceled these right off the bat. Interesting. Alright, next, number 5. I have a division here. So, I'm going to factor everything but the second one. Remember, this over 1, but we're going to flip this one once we put it over 1. So we factor this. This is called a difference of squares. So I see an x minus 6, x plus 6. That's a difference of squares. That's x squared. That's 6 squared. This one looks like it has a GCF of 3. I'll pull out the 3. It looks like it would be 3 times x gives you 3x. 3 times 6 gives you 18. Changes to a multiply. And you flip this. So I now have 1. And now, instead of putting 6 minus x, I'm actually going to do something I talked about a while back. I'm going to pull out a negative 1, making that a negative 6 plus x. Because 6 minus x, when I flip this, it doesn't cancel with that. The 6 minus x isn't the same as the x minus 6. But if I pull out a negative 1, I switch the signs. Now watch what happens. Can I rewrite this as x minus 6? Negative 6 plus x. Can I write that as x minus 6? Now, doesn't that cancel with that? And, oh, this x minus 6 will cancel with this. It's kind of cool. Because if you didn't pull out that negative 1, these would not have canceled. You wouldn't have noticed. So what's left on top is a 1. And on bottom, we're left with 3 times negative 1, so that's negative 3. That's it. My answer is negative 1/3. Cool. All this is negative 1/3. That's kind of crazy. Last problem. We need to factor all of this. There's a lot of factoring here. This is going to be a long one. And it's multiply, so do we have to flip the second one? No, we just leave it. So this right here is called a difference of squares. That's 2x squared. That's 3 squared. So that's going to be 2x minus 3, or let's start with 2x plus 3. 2x minus 3. That's going to stay 4x. Looks like here I could pull an x out. When I pull an x out, I'm left with x times 1 is x, x times x, or negative x. The bottom here, we're going to have to factor that. Ooh, that's an ugly factoring. Let's see here. To factor this one, looks like we have 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. 1 on the bottom. looks like 3 and negative 2. So to get that, you're going to end up doing what? X plus 3, x minus 2, and because of this 2 right here, we have to divide both of these by 2. So it looks like this factors to be, this isn't reduced, so this 2 jumps out. So this is 2x plus 3. This reduces to just x minus 1. Alright, what cancels? Well, let's see here. I see this and this canceling. I also see this and this canceling. I also see this very close. Could I pull out a negative 1 and switch these? Let's rewrite this. Looks like I have 2x minus 3 on top, and I have this 1 minus x. On bottom I have a 4 and an x minus 1. Now, these almost cancel, but watch this. I'm right here. I'm going to yank out a negative 1. When I yank out a negative 1 for this, that becomes a negative 1, that becomes a positive 1, so it becomes x minus 1. So I'm going to bring this up. 1 minus x, if I pull out a negative 1, it gives us this, which from that, this and this will actually cancel. That leaves me negative 1 times 2x minus 3 over 4, which, if it was my choice, I'd move the negative down, and this would just be 2x minus 3 over negative 4. That would be your answer, because the negative would drop down with that. I don't want the negative up top.